Revos here, and we are in the week away, right? Or if you're doing the pre-release, we are days away from the release of the Diablo 4 game. So this is a game I'm very much interested in. I know I haven't really covered it as much on this channel, but I did play Diablo 3. A lot of people talked me into playing Diablo 3. I like ARPGs. I like Diablo 3. If you join my Twitch channel, you know I did do Diablo Immortal, that trash. So I have hopes for Diablo 4. I have live streamed Diablo 4, the open tests and the server slam on this channel. But this is Force Gaming. You can always go and check out his channel. He was one of the few people that was able to go and he was able to play it, and he's also talking about more updates as he's been able to fully play Diablo. He's just under I think a lot of people, him and several people, have already played this. So if they have, they're under review embargo. So he's going to be talking about updates here. We're going to watch it, go over it, and I'll give you my thoughts throughout the video, and you let me know what you think.
I've played Diablo 4. A lot of Diablo 4. All of Diablo 4, actually. Over this past week and a half, I've been playing through a full review build of the game. It's the entire thing from start to finish, the campaign, all the endgame content, every system and feature that D4 will be launching with. I've gone through it, leveled up, and done just about everything there is to do. But I am under embargo until May the 30th. This is pretty standard practice for reviews and early review copies. There's usually this window of time between when you play the game and when you can actually talk about it. The point of which is to give people the time to write, record, and make their review content. However,
as I was saying, under review embargo, I would expect that. Then let's continue.
The embargo does lift, you can expect a full review from me here on the channel. As of now, pretty much all I can say is, yes, I have played the game, but I can't actually share that content or give you my thoughts. But you'll be getting those from me and plenty of other people in just a few days. Don't tell Blizzard, but here's a teaser of my review. So now that you know, reviews for Diablo 4 will be dropping on May the 30th. Just a few days later, we of course have the early access release, and Blizzard has laid out the exact timings and details for all of this. Early access will be officially beginning on June 1st at 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, or June 2nd, depending on what your time zone is, at which point anyone who purchased the digital...
Don't know if I'm getting early access or not. I don't know if it's worth it. I'm kind of on the fence with this game. I did like what I played, but I'm not sure.
Deluxe or Ultimate Edition can start playing. As a reminder, the Digital Deluxe version will run you $89.99, and besides the game, includes some bonus cosmetics and access to the premium track of the Season Pass. Oh joy. Whereas the Ultimate Edition has all of that, plus a bonus emote and access to the
Highway robbery, but this ain't gonna change in gaming with this Deluxe and the Ultimate Deluxe and the Omega Deluxe and the Superior Heavenly Edition. That's not changing.
Accelerated Season Pass, which comes with a 20-tier pass skip. Both versions, once more, will come with those 4 days of early access, for which you can pre-download the game, which will be available on every platform 1 day prior on May the 30th. Speaking of which, if you haven't already, you can now safely delete any prior versions of Diablo 4 that you have installed, be it the open beta or the server SAM client. You do not need those any longer. You will in fact have to download an entirely new, the full version of the game for release. Now, if you buy the standard edition, which goes for $69.99, you'll be able to start playing on the official release date, which they say is June 5th at 4 p.m. Pacific time, or again, June 6th, depending on your time zone. I would like to tell you that this early access window just doesn't matter, right? You don't have to jump in, you don't have to pay for it. Because of the nature of Diablo, like other ARPGs, it's going to be a seasonal game, and many players will be starting fresh from scratch when the first season releases, sometime in mid to late.
So I'm not really a seasonal person. I might be more so on the side of I beat it and, you know, I'll do a tune or two and I put it down, all right? Unless new content comes out. or depend on what comes out during that season. But the seasonal rewipe, unless they have something very interesting that's come to my mind, I've never really been one of those, oh, new season, let me jump on it type people.
Late July. So you really shouldn't feel the need or feel pressured into buying the more expensive editions just to play like 4 days early. But at the same time, I am also well aware that companies will sell more expensive versions that grant early access because it works on a lot of people a lot of the time. And I know you're probably tired hearing about FOMO. I am too. I get it. But it's also true. Like, people like being a part of things. I'm the same way. I want to be there, let's be honest, with what this is on the real release date, which is not June 1st, when everyone else is playing, when all my friends are playing, when all of you, probably a lot of you, are playing, and everyone's talking about the game. Now, I also, of course, have the added pressure of this being like part of my job, but even before YouTube, I've always wanted to play when all my friends and everyone else was playing. That's just how it is, so I get it. But if that's not important to you, you got other stuff going on, whatever, great, save yourself the extra money. Also,
I understand that. I don't think anybody I know, as far as I know, is going to do the deluxe edition to play, what is it, Thursday? This coming Thursday? Like, to put down that kind of money, $100, it's gonna be like $100 once you add the tax in, right? Just to play 4 days earlier and some cosmetic wings. I mean, there's people who do it, and I ain't poo-pooing people who do it. But if I just, and this is a person who's pre-ordered a lot, so I'm not looking down on it if you do it. If you really like what you've seen, or you just a Diablo head and you want to do it, by all means, do it. Do what fits you. Personally,
let's be honest, there's a very, very likely chance the servers will be a bit of a mess those first few days. Like, yeah, things seemed okay during the server slam, but I think it's reasonable to conclude that the server slam had far fewer players, at least.
Yeah, it's been confirmed. It wasn't as many players as the open beta. When I played the server slam, I was thinking, wow, this is really, really, really good. And then it wasn't. It wasn't that much people to like stress test it. Maybe they got their fill, or they came to their conclusions, or people don't want to get burned out before you. I mean, even when I did my server slam, I was skipping everything because I didn't want to hear the dialogue again. So until I got to further into the story wise than I did in the first open beta run.
At least it seems that way. Blizzard wasn't touting their numbers like they did in the open beta with the massive numbers, millions of people who collected like the backpack and all that stuff. They didn't do that for the slam, and it's probably because the slam, for many, many reasons, was not nearly as popular. I think there's a really good chance the launch is gonna be a mess for at least some time. But when the servers are working, it should be a good time. I had a lot of fun during the betas. I would also tell you what I thought about the review, but I can't yet. Remember, embargo. So yes, when the game's running and it's working and we're playing the game, great. And if you're planning on playing Diablo 4 and you want to get the most out of the experience, why not check out today's sponsor? LG's latest, the Ultra Gear OLED gaming monitor, or 45GR95QE. This monitor is a whopping 45 inches with a wide 21:9 aspect ratio and a curved screen. It is absolutely massive, let me tell you. I played through the entire D4 campaign and much of the end game using this monitor exclusively. It was pretty awesome. I mean, you can see everything with a monitor that's this large, and it's crystal clear thanks to some of its many features, which include being the world's first 240 Hz OLED gaming monitor with a 0.0.
I'm not gonna poo-poo his advertisement of the curved edge monitor. All I'm gonna say is, people, please do your research before you buy curved edge monitors. That's all I'm gonna say.
3 MSGTG response time. The OLED display with self-lit pixels makes for great color quality. And lastly, as mentioned, it's got a 21:9 aspect ratio and literally lets you see more of the game than if you're playing on a standard 16:9 monitor. So if you'd like to learn more and check out the LG Ultra Gear OLED gaming monitor yourself and use it for playing Diablo 4, go ahead and check out my link in the video description below. Okay, now let's get back to the Diablo 4 news. Recently, D4's associate game director and art director sat down to answer some burning community questions. Hold up, just a quick interjection here. I don't do this often, but a little after the fact edit add in. So after I record this video, about the Blizzard questions and that I'm about to go over, it started to pop up online that it seems like these were faked. Basically, people looked up the usernames of the people that these community questions supposedly came from, and they didn't find them. Now, the host of this interview with the FGS, the Future Game Show YouTube channel, they had posted online asking people for community questions, and they got a grand whopping total of 0 responses. So I don't think this is so much like faked, orchestrated by Blizzard. I think it's much more probable that these guys had an interview lined up with Blizzard. They were looking for community questions, and no one gave a crap, and nobody responded. And so they just came up with stuff, or they pulled questions from elsewhere and changed the username. There's definitely a bunch of different possible scenarios.
I'm not surprised. You want your views that badly that you make your own questions and you post them up and change it as if Blizzard had these questions and you were interacting with the community on that behalf is insane. I'm not surprised, but at the same point, just like.
But I think, frankly, first of all, they just screwed up by framing this as community questions. If it wasn't actually community questions, if they just generated it or pulled questions not from their community, whatever, just don't even frame it as community anything. Just say, here, Blizzard answers some big questions or whatever, you know? So they definitely screwed up there. But frankly, the second and the more important point is the source of the questions isn't as matter as the information that's being discussed with the questions and then Blizzard's answers to them and then what that means for the game. That's what I care about. I don't care who asked the questions. I just think FGS, and then if Blizzard knowingly knew that these weren't real community questions and they answered them. But again, I think that's much less likely than these people had an interview with Blizzard, asked for community for questions, nobody cared, and then they were in panic mode. So the first question was, will Diablo 4 give incentive to play old normal mode characters once seasons come along? To which they said, we really are putting all of our emphasis, or a lot of our emphasis, I should say, on trying to make sure that we've created the most exciting seasonal content that we can. So a lot of our new gameplay systems, the new seasonal quest line that we'll be adding in every season, all tie into this like really big seasonal theme that we'll have. We're really trying to make sure that it feels fun to go make a new character and roll through and play again. So more or less here, it seems like the answer to the question is no, there won't be much incentive to go play the old normal mode characters, or as it's known in the game, like the Eternal Realms, once a season begins. Clearly, they are focused on the seasons. They want you playing the seasons. This is where all of the new stuff and the good stuff is going to be. Now, he added that a big part of the reason for this is that there is an obvious endpoint to progression in Diablo 4, saying Diablo is specifically designed around the...
Okay, so it seemed like you're about to change topics. It's gonna have to be very good because, like I said, I'm not really a seasonal person. Where new season, start all over again, make a new character. So if they can pull that off, right, they can come out with content that would make it enticing for me to, or people like me, because there are people who just want to play the game, beat the story, get as maxed out they can. They're gonna leave it until the next content part drops, continuation or extension or whatever. You're gonna have to really do some really to like change it up to where maybe, I'll come back and I'll start from the beginning again through this season to get that. Because when Diablo 3 was out and they were doing the seasons, I think I did one season, and I forgot what was I trying to get a pair of wings, like the angel wings. I think I ain't played Diablo 3 in forever. I ain't booted up. I came back for one season of Diablo 3, and it wasn't the very next season after release. I think it was a season that dropped during Matthew. Like the one that came out shortly after Matthew came out, I came back. Well, let's go into their part of Endgame.
The idea of capped progression. There's only so much power that you can get. It's not a never-ending curve where you're constantly finding an even better item and an even better item. Items get to a certain level of power and then they stop. And it really comes down to, do you have the right combination of items? Have you made all the best choices in the skill tree? Is that the best build or the most fun build? That's really more of the focus that we have. So yes, if you weren't aware already, Diablo 4 is not the type of game where you're making a single character and progressing on that character after continuously playing for months or years on end, there is basically an endpoint to all of it. Once you get to the position where the highest item level gear starts dropping, it's then about just acquiring all of the aspects that you need for that gear that you want for your build, and then looking for the best rolls possible. And sooner or later, you're pretty much going to be done. Like Diablo 4, like many other ARPGs, is a game about starting over and trying new things. With the seasons, give you the opportunity to jump in and play a new.
So see, yeah, I'll do the min max. I mean, that's what he was talking about. I'll do the min max, get as far as I can with that character or the characters that I'm interested in, and then after that, that's it. Now, Diablo 3 was good enough to where I did my Witch Doctor, I did my Crusader, I did a Barb. I don't think I did a Demon Hunter. I did a Sorcerer, and I did a Monk. So I did 4 out of 5. But yeah, and even on that level, when they had the rifts, only person I was really running rifts with was my Crusader, and it was 2 characters. So it's not meant to be like a Warcraft where they're going to have dungeons dropping and you're going to continue. It has a hard cap in, and I'm cool with that. I actually like that. I can't really invest how my life is. I can't really invest my time in something that's never ending.
New class, or try new builds for your favorite class, check out the new gear that gets added, and then along with that, of course, any of the new features they say will be coming with each season. But if you just want to play like one character and not engage with the seasons, after a while with D4, yes, you're just basically going to run out of stuff to do. There is not never-ending content. There's not a never-ending gear treadmill. Eventually, your gear will be at the point where you can do all of the hardest things in Diablo 4. There's really no more challenge that you're presented with until the new seasons come out, or you want to try a new character or a new build or whatever. All right, next question. Will skill trees be further expanded with new branches or choices for existing abilities in future patches and seasons? The answer was, this is really something we're thinking about more as part of our expansion releases. We're not talking about expansions too much today. We'll talk more about those in the future, but for like big additions to the skill tree, that's really where they want to be. Now, we will be doing like meta changes and tuning on a regular basis from season to season as we go, and adding more legendary items, more unique items for players to collect. We'll be adding those things, but things like changes to the skill tree will be for expansions. This once again sort of raises the question as to what exactly we should be expecting from each season, or rather how substantial are the things that we're going to be getting in each season, because as we've known all along, and as was just reiterated, they are planning to develop and sell us expansions. And I'd say it's safe to assume that most of the bigger content updates will be reserved for those expansions. Things like a skill tree update, but also getting new zones, getting new acts, going to new continents in the world of Sanctuary, and of course, the new playable classes. That stuff is going in the expansions. So the hope with the seasons is that they can still,
as it should. I wouldn't expect them to. I don't think I've ever seen an expansion to a skill tree happen, or something major happening like addition or removal of skills or skill trees in general, outside of it being an expansion, because you gotta buy the expansion, and the expansion tends to kind of shift how the gameplay, so it gets added on into there as more incentive to buy the expansion. I wouldn't expect that any other way. I wouldn't expect that significant of a change for seasons. I mean, certain cosmetics, gear maybe, on proc or on, like stuff like that, like certain legendary pieces. Yeah, but expansions to your tree, nah.
still add meaningful content and changes. Remember, that's why we have all these new microtransactions. Besides them making money, this is the reason for us, the players, why we have all these new microtransactions. And they have said that these will open up new ways to play beyond just adding new gear. What that all ends up actually meaning, we'll see. And sometime soon, because as mentioned in our last coverage of Diablo 4, we got confirmation that Blizzard will be doing another developer live stream where they will primarily be focused on showcasing and discussing season number 1. This should be happening sometime shortly after launch. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to show and what they have to say. Another question here, are the Diablo 4 devs considering the idea of adding a loot filter like Path of Exile or Last Epoch? The answer to which was basically they're considering a lot of things, and these are the sort of things that might be coming in seasonal updates. Something like a
No, don't have it. They're trying to see if they can add it on down the line. That's all that means.
loot filter, which if you don't know, it's basically like, hey, I don't want to see any more of the white or blue items dropping. I don't need them. They're junk, whatever. I mean, yes, you can still salvage them or you could sell them, but if you didn't want to see any white and blue items ever again, technically this is what like a loot filter would be for. And that's the sort of quality of life minor improvement that they are considering for seasons. And then finally, I just wanted to quickly mention this one question where they were asked what they learned from the beta test weekends. And the response was, so I think a lot of people who had the chance to play the beta weekends probably, or certainly hopefully understand that these were not marketing events. These were actually to test the game and to stress the game in particular. We know a lot of testing internally is done, but there's basically no replacement for wide scale testing. And that's certainly the case for it's certainly the case for like testing server infrastructure and seeing how you can do with lots and lots of people connecting to your servers. Although I would definitely argue they're definitely partially marketing, like especially things like the open beta. There was a lot of marketing promoting those things. And yes, part of that is to get a lot of people in it, but part of it is to get people hyped up, to give people.
I think I don't think if they didn't get such bad publicity for Diablo Immortal, they wouldn't go out their way. Look how bad they were harassing. I don't want to say harassed. They did it to themselves. People just didn't believe them when it came to, oh, is there monetization in your game? Which it is. But what more so they were concerned as, if you haven't played Diablo Immortal, it's very pay to win. And they said, what, like 4 or 5 times? It's not pay to win. It's not pay to win. It's not pay to win. And then surprise, guess what? It's pay to win. So I think the advertising and the open beta and the server slam was more so to get people to play, to see that the game feels good and the game is good. Because trust me, they lost that much faith, that much good faith and goodwill they've lost with the community over Diablo Immortal. And that was trying to buy back their audience. Not buy back, but gain back their audience to show that the game is good and that there's no gemming system, that, you know, it was none of the funk and stuff from Immortal in there. You still got a battle pass, but there's games that are single player with battle pass. So I digress.
A taste. So I agree, it's not just marketing, but it definitely is also, in addition to the testing, it is marketing. Because if they really just wanted to test stuff, they would have like an open beta for months, right? The people could really thoroughly test all the systems. But I guess there's a difference between systems testing and bug fixing and finding, and like server performance testing, right? Next question here, not from this Q&A, but just in general, let me ask you a question. What do you think the odds are that the Druid is actually going to be OP? Well, turns out it might actually be pretty high. You know, I know during Diablo 4's beta testing, the Druid was like the butt end of pretty much every single joke related to class balance. There were a lot of memes out there, and it seemed like the perception was that it was just a really undertuned class, at least for those.
I keep pausing because I got a lot to say on this. So I should maybe let's make another video about this, but I saw somebody do a theory craft that it's projected that the strongest classes are going to be in game the Druid and the Barbarian. I forgot the guy's name, but I will put that up. But oh my god, it was so many people were just losing their mind. Oh, the Druid and the Barb is so weak, I don't want to play them, they need a buff. And Blizzard clearly said where you only played 20 levels. Let me see what he gonna say. Hold on, before I go on this my little tangent.
First 25 to 20 levels. But it turns out at release they might actually just be super OP. When asked in a recent GameStar interview, Joe Pipora said that the Druid is actually one of our strongest classes, at least according to our internal test. However, players were not able to experience the Druid's full potential during the betas. Obviously, the biggest thing that we weren't able to experience was the Druid class mechanic. They've got their own class mechanic, like every class has their own class mechanic. We just didn't see that in the Druid. In addition to being level capped and not having the full access to the tree, and of course things like the Paragon boards, and actually being able to build out a good set of gear to coincide with the build, that's all stuff we just didn't experience at all. Now, we did hear rumors coming through leaks from the endgame testing that took place last fall. Many people who participated in those tests were saying that both the Warrior and Druid get very strong at endgame.
Look at that. Look at that. He might be talking about the same people. Because I've played a lot of ARPGs in my life. Even going back to the PS2 days, Champions and Norath. Diablo 3. I've played other games like that that don't have, that aren't Diablo 3. But everybody lost their mind because the Barb and the Druid were hitting low. But isn't it in most games that melee tends to be a little bit more gear dependent? Isn't it in most of these type games, MMOs, ARPGs, where there's a class who struggles early game or struggles mid game, get strong late game, fall off late game? So I don't understand where this dynamic came to so many people where all of a sudden, oh my god, there was this is so low, it needs a buff, they won't buff it, and then they are loving on the necro, when if you saw my live stream that I did, I literally called out the necro was going to get buffed. I had a necro standing right next to me and I just stayed there and people were laughing in the live stream. The minions killed everything. And he's standing right there by me. Like, it's like water cooler talk while the minions clear the field. The Barb and the Druid are so bad. I don't care if they get bigger later. I want them big now. Like, come on. Like, this your first ARPG you've played? Some classes have weak early game. Where was this talk when Diablo 3 play a demon hunter on harder difficulties to see how you don't randomly just die? I mean, granted, that has more to do with the health pool, but it had a weak early game, and then it becomes a monster late game. Like, come on. I in my stream I said I looked at the tree and I started putting together my werewolf bleed build in my head, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a monster late game. I can see it. You're playing 20 levels. You played 25 on the open beta, and you played 20 during the you played 20 during the server slam. I'm not surprised. I saw that. Barb is almost always a good DPS. It's gear dependent.
Once they have all of their skill points, their class mechanics, the Paragon board is filled out, and they are fully geared. And most certainly further cementing the likelihood that Druid might be good is fellow YouTuber Wadijo, who recently posted a Diablo 4 launch tier list where he ranked the Druid very high in just about everything.
Yep, it was Wadijo. I forgot his name, but yes. Druid is very high, Barb is very high because of their survivability, amount of shields that they have. The werewolf or the werebear can get healed off of a howl or a growl.
Everything. In endgame potential and build diversity and group utility, and for hardcore, basically the only thing that it wasn't A or S tier in were early game progression and mobility. I can live with that. Frankly, I'm tickled to hear this news that apparently the Druid is going to be strong, because I love the Druid class fantasy. Druids in a lot of games, Wardens in ESO, that kind of nature attuned to animal thing, like it's super cool. I really like it. So if the class isn't trash tier, that's even all the better for me. I would probably still check it out and make a character even if it was trash tier. Okay, now let's talk about some Diablo themed marketing stuff that's happening right now. So there's Twitch drops beginning on June 5th and lasting for about 4 weeks. Diablo 4 Twitch drops will be available. So basically each week there will be a new set of cosmetic items up for grabs, which will include,
Of course there is,
weapon and back pieces for every single class in the game. In order to get these, you have to watch from 3 to 6 hours of any eligible Diablo 4 streams on Twitch. Week 1's rewards will include drops for the Rogue and Necromancer, Week 2, the Sorcerer, Week 3, the Druid, and Week 4 for Barbarian. Simultaneously, they are also running what they're calling the Support a Streamer program, in which gifting 2 Twitch subscriptions to eligible streamers will earn you the Primal Instinct. This is this white and black mount with these runic markings on it. If you want to do it, go ahead, but I'll tell you, you're far away from your mount. A lot of these cosmetic stuff, character cosmetics is like one thing, because being able to see like your shoulder pads and your helms and your weapons, it's cool when you get cosmetics that look good. But for the mount, like, it's underneath your character for.
Yeah, underneath your character, it's gonna like a brown. It's gonna like a brown horse with random scribble scrabble on the butt of it. And I'm not even sure how often you're going to use your mount here. Is this like Warcraft? I'm not sure how the mounting system would work here. Gonna have to see that.
One, and whatever. If you want to do this, or if you want to support streamers, I'm all for supporting fellow content creators. Do your thing. And if you're wondering, no, I'm not gonna be a part of this. I don't really stream on Twitch. I prefer making YouTube videos. While I'm gaming, I kind of want to just be like shades drawn, lights off, no talking. Just focus on the game. That's what I like. And that's actually, if you're curious, if you used to watch my Twitch streams, that's pretty much why I don't stream anymore. I like gaming a lot more when I don't have to like put on a show. I don't.
Yeah, I get that. I struggle with that too sometimes. Like I'm a gamer where if it gets really intense, I zone in and I shut up. I'm just like, I'm into it. So streaming can be hard if you have that mindset when you just zone in and you're not talking because you got people watching and they're just like, hey, they're not doing anything. It's just like, I'm like, it's something like, I completely understand what you're saying.
All right, let's go on. Some more stuff here. Blizzard released a Diablo 4 live action trailer, and you know, it seemed to have a lot of downvotes. It was like a third or something, or fourth, but I don't know. I thought this was actually pretty cool, fairly well done in my opinion for a live action video game trailer. How good can these really actually be? And you know, this is clearly aimed at like the mass market appeal. This is one of those things that you'd see like in a Super Bowl commercial. If we were around the Super Bowl, I feel like this is the kind of thing that would be there. For what it is, I thought it was decent, right? It's fine.
When I first saw it, I had fear that they were actually trying to do a movie because I didn't see that it was like trailer for the game. I just saw it and I was like, oh God, no. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but I was like, oh no, y'all gonna make a live action Diablo movie. No, please don't.
Diablo 4 cross KFC promotions going on. Supposedly this will be starting on May 29th, where, I don't know, buying stuff at KFC, something related to KFC purchases, will get you some in-game cosmetics for D4. So the skins, what they were going to be, got leaked, and recently we actually saw like a character model holding the thrumming axle, as it's called. Stuff looks fine, whatever. If you're going to buy KFC anyways, get your skins. Great.
Looks like you're beating people with a giant candle holder. Candelabra. So yeah, like, whatever.
The thrumming axle, as it's called. Stuff looks fine, whatever. If you're gonna buy KFC anyways, get your skins. Great. And then there's some Diablo themed gaming gear. Not surprising, this happens with a lot of Blizzard games, but Secret Lab has a pair of Diablo 4 themed chairs, and then also Steel Series is selling a mouse headset and mouse pad if you're interested in any of that. And that's gonna do it for this week's news covering D4. I just want to say, as we're wrapping up here, it's certainly not the case with every new game that's coming out that I find myself like eager eagerly anticipating. I would say it happens at best a couple of times a year where we got a game coming out that sort of rekindles that kid on Christmas feeling. Diablo 4 is one of those games. I say that with confidence. Like, I cannot wait for the launch next week. I have every intention of playing a lot of this game when it releases. You'll see some more coverage of me. It's not going to be every video, but I'm going to talk.
Okay. So again, this is Forest Gaming. You can check out his channel. He's doing well for himself. He's very informative. He's very entertaining as far as bringing forth the news and, you know, his opinions on these games. But yeah, I am looking forward to Diablo 4. I will be streaming Diablo 4 probably. I'm happy. It's so far not looking like it is like Diablo Immortal. I'm not surprised the Druid. Not saying that I'm thinking that, say, anything is going to fall off, like the Necro. They already nerfed the Necro, which people complained about, or the Sorcerer. But I've seen videos where they're saying that, you know, they are really striving for viability of all classes and specs. And I think that is very fascinating. Normally you have, you know, those ones where they're just not viable. And I'm sure, you know, the meta will come out, they'll data mine the meta. People who pick it up week 1 will already have tried to like burn through the game in those 4 or 5 days and come out with the best build. But if you like it, play around in it, you know? Play with it, see what's going on, what you like, what you don't like. But I went from I was not getting this game to playing it, and I'm like, I am getting this game. I am liking it. And let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you feeling the Diablo 4 game? Do you want to get it, or are you still on the fence? Want to wait until Force Game and the others drop their review to make up your mind? But again, this is Revos. You have a good day.